never liked birthdays all that much. Not mine, anyway. I don't like being the center of attention, and I've always preferred small, quiet things. Dim lights, soft music, close company. So when my sister insisted on throwing me a dinner party this year, I told her to keep it simple. Just family. Just the people I know. It was supposed to be a calm evening. She offered to host it at her place, just a short drive from my apartment. She has this little house at the end of a cul-de-sac. White fence, hanging porch light, wind chimes that sound like glass sighing in the wind. It's cozy, familiar, safe. I arrived early to help set up. She had already arranged the table. White cloth, clean plates, soft yellow candles flickering in low holders. There were 6 chairs, one for each of us. My sister, her husband, my mom, dad, our younger brother, and me. Just the family. That's what I'd asked for. But something odd happened before dinner even started. My sister came back into the room holding another chair. A simple wooden one from the kitchen. I thought maybe she was moving it out of the way or into another room. But she brought it right to the table and slid it into place between mine and hers. "Who's that for?" I asked, smiling. A joke, half-hearted. She didn't answer right away. She was fussing with the candles, adjusting them so the flames wouldn't flicker too close to the napkins. Then she looked up at me. Not confused, not annoyed, just strangely calm. "He's already here," she said. I waited for her to laugh or roll her eyes, but she didn't. Her voice had that casual, matter-of-fact tone people use when pointing out something obvious. Like she expected me to know who she meant. We sat down for dinner shortly after everyone arrived. No one else mentioned the extra chair. My mom even set a place there, napkin, utensils, glass of water. I kept looking around, trying to figure out if this was some prank, some elaborate birthday surprise that hadn't kicked in yet. But the conversation was normal. We talked about work, the neighbor's new dog, how early the sun was setting these days. No one acknowledged the 7th chair. No one sat in it. But no one looked directly at it either. At one point, I leaned over to my brother while we were clearing plates. "Hey," I said quietly, "what's with the extra chair?" He looked at me like I'd asked something embarrassing. "It's always been there," he said. "Don't worry about it." That wasn't true. I'd been to her house dozens of times. That table only ever had 6 chairs. I was sure of it. And the way he said it, like I was the one being strange, it made my skin prickle. While dessert was being brought out, a quiet hum of "Happy Birthday" barely whispered in tune, I noticed something else. The napkin on the extra plate had been moved. Just slightly. Folded differently than before, like someone had picked it up and set it back down. No one had touched it. The glass looked lower, too. I tried to catch someone's eye, maybe Dad, who usually notices everything, but even he was staring just past the chair, like it didn't exist, like none of them wanted to see it. And then, as we were saying goodbye, my sister leaned in and hugged me. Tight, too long for just a goodbye. She whispered, so close to my ear it made me shiver. "He just wanted to be part of it this year." That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed with my phone on the nightstand, screen face up. I kept glancing at it, checking the time, not knowing what I was waiting for. Maybe a text. Maybe something to make it all seem like a joke after all. But nothing came. At 3:12 a.m., I heard a knock on the door. Not loud. Just once. A single knock, then silence. I live alone. My apartment building locks up tight after 9 p.m. No deliveries. No visitors. I didn't get up. I didn't move. I just lay there and listened. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. I didn't fall asleep until the sun started to rise. The next day, I called my sister. I asked her directly, "What was that chair about?" "Really?" She paused. I could hear her breathing. "It was for him," she said finally. "He's always been part of us. You just don't remember." That chilled me. "What are you talking about? Who?" She didn't answer. I heard the line go dead. Not a beep. Not a click. Just silence. Like she'd disappeared into the air. I went through old photos that afternoon. Birthday parties, holidays, dinners. Always 6 people. Always 6. Except one picture I couldn't remember taking. I found it in an envelope with no label, tucked into the back of an old album. It showed our family at a long wooden table, candles lit, cake in the center. I looked older in that photo, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but it was the table at my sister's house. And there were 7 chairs, 7 people. The one at the far end of the table, I couldn't make out the face. It was blurred, like the camera had shifted or someone moved mid-shot. But the figure was tall, wearing something dark, sitting completely still. I didn't recognize them, and no one else seemed to notice they were there. I called my mom next, even though I knew she hated talking on the phone. When I asked her about the photo, she was silent for a long time. Then she said, softly, "Don't dwell on it. It's better that way." Her voice sounded tired, older than I remembered. Then she added, "He wouldn't want you to remember too soon." That night I dreamt of the dinner again. Same table, same flickering candles. But this time the chair wasn't empty. He was sitting in it. I couldn't see his face, just the shape of him, seated quietly, hands folded, watching me. He never moved, never spoke, but I felt something in my stomach tighten, a dread that pooled under my skin. And then I woke up, in my apartment, alone. Except the bedroom door was open. I know I closed it. I always do. The next morning, I found the photo from the album sitting on my kitchen counter. I hadn't brought it there. I hadn't even taken it out of the envelope. But there it was. And the 7th figure looked slightly sharper than before. A few days passed. I tried to forget, told myself it was stress, that the photo was damaged, maybe printed badly, that families play weird jokes, and memories twist over time. But last night, on my birthday, there was a knock again. This time, I got up. I looked through the peephole. Nothing there. But as I turned back, I noticed something at the foot of my dining table. A chair. Not mine. Not part of the set. Wooden. Plain. Familiar. It was pulled out slightly, like someone had just been sitting there. And on the plate in front of it, an untouched slice of cake. My cake. I haven't spoken to my family since. I don't answer calls from my sister anymore. I'm afraid of what she'll say. Afraid she might try to explain, and that I'll believe her. Because deep down, I think she's right. He's always been part of us. And somehow I just forgot. Sometimes, in the quiet, I hear that chair move. Just the soft scrape of wood on floorboards. I try not to look, because if I do, I might remember who he is. And I don't want to. Not on my birthday. Not ever again. I was 8 the year I made the wish. My birthday had landed on a Monday, which felt unfair for reasons I couldn't explain, and my mom had promised we'd celebrate the following weekend with cake and friends. But that morning, before school, she still placed a single candle in a pancake and sang quietly to me as I sat at the kitchen table, still in my pajamas. I remember thinking the candle flame looked a little shaky, like it didn't want to be there. The wish came without thinking. I squeezed my eyes shut and whispered, "I wish I didn't have to go to school anymore." I blew out the candle and that was it. I didn't tell anyone, not even my mom, because I knew wishes were supposed to be secret or they wouldn't come true. I forgot about it by the time I was brushing my teeth. That day passed like any other. Math quiz, cold lunch, a scraped knee from tripping in gym class. But when we got home, the landline rang almost immediately, and my mom answered with a strange tone in her voice. It was the school. A gas leak had been found. Classes were canceled for the rest of the week, maybe longer. She joked that it was the best birthday present a kid could ask for. I laughed, but something about it didn't feel funny. The wish had been so specific, and it had happened so quickly. I tried to brush it off, but that night I lay in bed listening to the creaks of the hallway, and I felt watched. By Friday, we got word that the leak was more serious than expected. The school would be closed for at least 2 more weeks. I thought maybe it was just a coincidence until I found the note. It was folded neatly on my pillow. My name was written in messy handwriting across the front. No envelope. Inside, one sentence. "Be careful what you ask for." I asked my mom if she'd left it. She shook her head, confused. We didn't have visitors. I hadn't seen any mail come in. She said maybe it was part of a birthday card I didn't remember opening. I tried to believe her. I really did. But that weekend, the phone rang again. It was my uncle this time, calling from the hospital. He'd fallen down a flight of stairs at his office and broken his leg. "Looks like I'll be out of work for a bit," he joked, then added, "Hey, maybe I'll come over and help babysit the birthday boy." I remember laughing, but inside something clenched. My uncle was a teacher at my school. By the following Monday, a storm hit the area. It knocked out power lines. The school board delayed reopening again. On the local news, they interviewed families who were growing concerned. I sat cross-legged on the couch, hugging a pillow, and watched the school shrink into a blur behind a reporter's umbrella. It didn't feel like a blessing anymore. It felt like I had touched something I wasn't supposed to. I told my mom I didn't feel like celebrating anymore. She said we could reschedule the party, maybe next month. But I knew I wouldn't ask for it. I was too busy checking the front door twice before bed. Too busy staring at the windows when they fogged up and wondering if someone had written on them from the outside. That night, another note appeared, this time under my blanket pressed near my feet. "You should have asked for something else." I sat straight up, heart hammering. The handwriting was shakier this time. The paper smelled faintly of something burnt, like someone had held it near a candle too long. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling and counted how many times I heard the floorboards creak. At one point, I thought I saw someone standing in the hallway, but when I blinked, it was gone. Maybe it had never been there, but the feeling stayed, crawling under my skin like static. The next morning, I asked my mom if we could visit Grandma early. She lived in the next town over. She said yes, surprised but glad I wanted to get out of the house. I didn't tell her the real reason, that I felt like the house itself had started listening to me, waiting for me to ask for something else. I thought maybe if I stayed somewhere else, it would break whatever spell I'd started. But even at Grandma's, I woke up the first night to find another note, this time on the windowsill. "Too late now." I showed it to Grandma. She furrowed her brow and said maybe it was a prank. But who would drive out to a sleepy farmhouse just to scare a kid? No one but me and Grandma had keys, and the back door had still been locked. That's when she said something that chilled me. "You always were a serious little boy," she said. "You believed in things most kids outgrew." Then she added, almost like an afterthought, "But sometimes, they believe in you back." The notes stopped after that. Or maybe I just stopped finding them. School resumed a month later, in a different building while the gas repairs continued. It was colder there, dimmer. I kept my head down and didn't talk much. My friends said I seemed different, quieter. I never made another wish on my birthday after that. Not out loud, not in my head, not even in jest. I don't even blow out candles anymore. I let them burn down slowly, one by one. I don't know what would happen if I tried again, but I still remember that flame on the pancake, flickering like it didn't want to be part of what came next. And every now and then, I dream of it, that flame, stretching taller like a finger pointing straight at me. In the dream, I never blow it out. I just watch it and it watches back. I always wake up before it goes dark. Started on my 30th birthday. Nothing special about it. Just me, a regular guy with a small apartment and a job that made the days blur. I wasn't planning anything. No party, no cake. Not even a call to my sister like I used to do when we were younger. I got home late that evening, shoes soaked from the rain. My hallway always smelled faintly of old paint and something metallic. I remember dropping my keys into the bowl by the door, shrugging off my jacket, and spotting it on the table. A box. Small, wrapped in deep navy paper with no label. I thought maybe someone from work had left it. A joke, maybe, since I'd mentioned hating birthdays. But there was no card, no name, nothing to give it context. I turned it over in my hands, and it felt heavier than it looked. When I shook it slightly, something inside shifted, like a single item sliding from side to side. That was 3 years ago. Since then, a new box has arrived every August 3rd, and every year it gets harder to explain away. The next year, the package came wrapped in plain brown paper and black twine. Inside was an old copy of The Collector by John Fowles. A strange choice, considering I don't read much. The inside cover had an inscription, handwritten in shaky ink. For when they finally notice you. First I laughed. It felt like the kind of cryptic note an overdramatic friend would write. But I couldn't think of anyone who would do that, and no one ever admitted to sending it. The third year, the box arrived earlier than usual, around 9 a.m. I found it waiting on the kitchen table, though I know I'd locked the door before bed. This time it was an antique mirror. Oval-shaped, silver frame, slightly tarnished. Felt cold in my hands. When I turned it over, I noticed something faintly etched into the metal on the back. "They don't see you yet." I had to tilt it toward the light to read it. The mirror had this strange effect. When I looked into it, my reflection lagged just a bit behind. Barely noticeable, but enough to unsettle me. I started keeping the blinds drawn after that. I didn't like the idea of someone getting close enough to leave things inside without me hearing. I installed a doorbell cam. That year, I checked the footage several times, and there was nothing. No person. Just a jump in the timestamp, and then the box was there. By the fourth year, I gave up pretending I was okay. I didn't go to work. I didn't answer my phone. I kept every window covered and every door locked. And still, when I woke up that morning, there was a package on my nightstand. I hadn't heard a sound. I stared at it for over an hour before opening it. Inside was a small music box, scratched and worn. I wound it once, and it played a tune I didn't recognize, slow, halting, almost mournful. I slammed the lid shut. Beneath it, carved into the wood, were the words, "They're almost here." I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the walls, every gust of wind outside, felt like a sign something was about to step into view. I hid the box in my closet and wrapped it in towels to muffle the sound. But sometimes, even now, I still hear it. Just the first 3 notes. Always from somewhere else in the apartment. This year, I finally told my sister. I didn't expect her to believe me, but she didn't laugh. She just went quiet and asked, "What do they want?" That question stuck with me. I hadn't really thought about there being a they. Not until she said it out loud. I decided I wouldn't be home this time. I booked a cabin 4 hours away, completely off-grid. No neighbors, no deliveries, no internet. I left my phone behind and didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just wanted to make it through the day. When I got there, everything looked untouched. Fresh sheets, empty cupboards. But on the table in the center of the room was a box. Same brown paper, same black twine. I hadn't even put down my bags yet. I didn't go near it. I turned around and left the cabin without touching a thing. Slept in my car at a gas station an hour away. But even there, in that dim lot surrounded by humming streetlights, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting just outside the glass. Not watching, just waiting. The next morning, I drove straight home. I didn't unpack, didn't eat. I just went into my bedroom and sat there, staring at the mirror. It had been moved. Not by much, just tilted slightly, like someone had been looking through it while I was gone. I checked the back again. The original words were still there. "They don't see you yet." But now, scratched in smaller letters beneath them, barely visible unless you looked closely, was something new. "Don't look away." Since then, I've stopped marking my birthday altogether. Doesn't help. The packages still come. Sometimes on other days smaller, no notes. Just the wrapping, the weight, the sense of presence. Sometimes I wake up and find one near the window. Once it was on my pillow. The music box still plays sometimes, even though it's never wound. The book falls from the shelf by itself. The mirror shows things behind me that shouldn't be there. I used to think I was being haunted. Now I'm not sure. Haunted implies something wants to scare you. This feels more like a build-up. Like each item was a step in some slow unveiling. A whisper, a reflection, a sound, a message. And the more I try to ignore them, the clearer they become. Whatever this is, it isn't done yet. It's just getting closer.